The foster husband was very cold, and he never said I love you to me in 10 years of marriage. Before I died, I found the letter he had prepared for a long time, but the name on it wasn't mine. It turned out he was just cold towards me. The first thing I did after reincarnating was to cancel the engagement and encourage him to deliver the letter. He turned red with anger and for the first time yelled at me, "Li-Wan, who asked you to meddle?" An hour before the elevator accident. I was cleaning the attic and found a yellowed love letter, the familiar handwriting, the familiar signature. The name at the beginning, however, wasn't mine. This was a love letter that Linhi wrote to another girl. The moment the elevator fell, I was still thinking. I hadn't yet found out who the girl he liked was, what she looked like, or whether she was much better than me. 2. When I woke up again, the sun outside was very bright, my head was dizzy. And my best friend Chen Pan was holding my hand and sighing, "You finally woke up, you scared me to death. It's lucky that someone nearby reacted quickly and carried you to the infirmary." The girl in front of me, wearing a high school uniform and with a face full of collagen, made me momentarily unable to react. Chen Pan from 17 years ago. The warm feeling on my hand told me that this was not a dream. I really have been reborn. A figure ran in from the door, flashing through the light and appearing in front of me. "Are you okay?" Linhi looked at me calmly, holding bread and milk. A familiar memory was suddenly recalled. Yes, that day I overslept and didn't have breakfast, and I fainted during the break time due to low blood sugar. Linhi handed me the food and watched me eat it. That morning, Linhi's class had a physics quiz, but he skipped class for me and later got scolded by the head teacher. At 17, I was still caught up in the pink bubble of his concern for me, but now, at 32, I clearly knew that Linhi was just following his father's promise to take good care of me. Linhi's father and my father were comrades in arms. Later, Linhi's father sacrificed his life, and his mother took the compensation money and ran away. My father took Linhi in to raise him because he felt sorry for him, because he was living under someone else's roof. He always obeyed my father's words and never dared to defy him. From that day on, Linhi became my little shadow. Everyone behind our backs secretly teased us, saying that I had an obedient child bride. Later, my father found out about my little thoughts and teased Linhi to be our son-in-law, but he didn't say a word. At that time, I thought he was introverted and shy, but now I think I was really foolish. 3. During class, I was distracted, constantly replaying my past life. I don't want to trouble Linhi anymore. Maybe if I don't marry him, he will be happier, and I won't die afterwards. After class, the teacher made us stay 10 minutes longer, and after class, the students rushed out in a flock. I was packing my things when I saw Linhi had been waiting for me at the door for a long time, looking down at the set of wrong questions in his hands. The light illuminated him, making him look even more lonely and cold. We walked out of the teaching building in silence. Linhi has always been like this, cold and indifferent, as if he doesn't care about anything. I looked at his back and suddenly stopped in my tracks. "Linhi, you can go back first. You don't need to walk with me anymore. You don't need to wait for me in the future." "Why? There's no reason. You are free." "Linhi." I walked towards the back street of the school, intending to buy a few workbooks to improve my poor math skills. The person behind me caught up with me and coldly asked, "What's wrong with you again? Is it because I was late in the morning, or did you not like the milk I bought?" There was only that flavor left in the supermarket. The moonlight shone on him, cold and lonely. His gaze seemed to say, "What's your little game this time?" I tried to explain, "It's really not like that. The college entrance exam is coming up, and everyone's time is precious. You don't need to waste it on me. I need to work hard as well." Linhi stood in place, probably for the first time hearing me say such words. I used to really like clinging to Linhi. I didn't get into Beijing University, but he did. However, he finally chose to stay in our city with me because of a word from my father. I used to naively think he liked me, just that he didn't say it out loud. He must be regretful. After all, that was his ideal university. 4. Linhi didn't come after me anymore. I went into the bookstore and picked out a few practice books that suited me, and also took a composition book. When I went to pay, I realized that the money in my pocket was gone. I was puzzled and walked through the bookstore again, but couldn't find it. I didn't know whether it was stolen or just accidentally dropped. I sighed and was about to come back tomorrow to buy it, when I turned around and bumped into someone. "Oh my God," the person exclaimed, and his comic book fell. He hurriedly tried to protect the grilled skewers in his bowl. "I'm sorry, why is it you again?" A familiar lazy tone. I looked closely, and it was Song-soo, a close friend from university. How come I met him now? It's quite a coincidence, classmate. I took you to the infirmary this morning when you fainted. Are you okay now? Oh, I'm fine, thank you. It didn't occur to me until later that I had such a coincidence with him. I don't know what kind of past life I had. Song-soo picked up the comic book. Seeing me hesitating in place, he took the book I was holding and paid for it together. I saw you walking around the store just now, like you were looking for something. Did you lose your money? I quickly nodded. This guy really is the one who will study criminal investigation in the future. He noticed so carefully. I said I would return the money to him tomorrow, and Song-soo waved his hand. Just treat me to dinner tomorrow. We walked out of the back street, and the night street had fewer people. Only a few students passing by. Song-soo looked at the delinquent youths huddled together smoking ahead, and turned to say he would send me home. He went to the garage to get a black motorcycle. The motorcycle followed him, showing off its power and coolness. 5. He dropped me off at the foot of my building, and the roar of the motorcycle finally disappeared. I was afraid of being scolded from the building above, so I hurriedly told Song-soo to leave quietly. Song-soo laughed. You can't be quiet, my dear is so amazing. It sounded weird, was about to say goodbye to him, but he suddenly raised his eyebrows and lowered his voice. Did you know that person? He seems to have been looking at you. I turned around and saw Linhi slowly walking from the entrance of the residential area. Strange, he was supposed to go back first. Why is he slower than me? Yes, I know him. Song-soo felt relieved, waved his hand, and left with a casual roar. Linhi went up the stairs with me, and there was an inexplicable sense of pressure in the silence. The elevator door closed, and he suddenly spoke. Is this the direction you're striving for? No, it's just a coincidence. That's really convenient. His tone was calm, as if he didn't care much. I didn't continue explaining. When he got home, Linhi would finish his homework and then take a shower. While he was walking into the bathroom, I quietly sneaked into his room and found the love letter. He always hides things in the same place, under the pile of books. It was easy to find. I opened the letter, but I couldn't figure out who Lee's classmate was. Could he be a classmate in his class? Considering his cold and indifferent attitude, he probably wouldn't be able to get close to anyone. Maybe I should help him a little. 6. The next day, I went to school with dark circles under my eyes. After checking all night, there were no girls with the surname Lee in Linhi's class except 2 boys with the surname Lee. Math class was once again confusing. Even if I were reborn, I would still not be able to solve the problems I couldn't solve before. It seems that the gap between me and Linhi is destined to be irreparable. At noon, I was about to invite Song-soo to lunch, but Linhi was waiting at the door again, holding my favorite dessert. I told you not to wait for me anymore, right? You should do what you need to do. Oh, thank you. No need to buy for me anymore. Linhi looked puzzled and sighed slightly. Lee Won, what did I do to offend you? You've been avoiding me lately. It's not your problem, it's my problem. I just figured some things out. I walked towards the cafeteria, then remembered something and turned back to say seriously, by the way, my father was just joking when he said for you to be his son-in-law. You don't have to take it seriously. And you don't need to listen to him too much. Linhi, good luck with your college entrance exam. Go to your ideal university. Linhi frowned, as if confused about why I said these things. I arrived at the cafeteria, and Song-soo was already waiting for me at a seat. What's this? Song-soo glanced at the bag in my hand. Eclairs. Here, have one. Thanks for helping me yesterday. Hey, no need to be polite. Song-soo waved his hand, but then smelled the fragrance of the dessert and couldn't resist eating one. One makes 2. He ate a few, and there were some crumbs on his mouth. I was about to remind him when a cold voice suddenly came out. No wonder you wanted to get rid of me. Are you two dating? Song-soo was startled and almost choked. I turned back and met Linhi's cold gaze, feeling as if I had been caught in an affair. No, I'm not his wife anymore. Song-soo noticed the awkwardness between us and excused himself to get the food. No, I just met him. We're just classmates. I was telling the truth, but Linhi impatiently interrupted me. Don't explain to me. On Friday after school, Chen Pan wanted to try the new product at the dessert shop across from the school, and pulled me to go with her. He said it coldly, turned around indifferently, and seemed a little angry. Song-soo came back and asked me quietly who that person was. Looking at his gossipy eyes, I thought he thought I and Linhi were a couple. I briefly explained our situation, and Song-soo smiled knowingly. Oh, childhood sweethearts. He seems to care about you a lot. Not at all, Lin. He couldn't wait to get rid of me. On Friday after school, Chen Pan was going to try the new products at the dessert shop across from the school and pulled me along. This dessert shop has been open for a long time, and it has always been very busy. Lin, he bought me the egg tart here. Chen Pan ordered 2 mango mousse. While waiting, I heard the staff say that there was a shortage of lemons and they were discussing it with the owner, Mr. Li. I caught a glimpse of a girl in a school uniform walking towards the back area of the shop. Is she the daughter of Mr. Li? She's surnamed Li. Her name is Li Qian. I have seen her on the list of the English composition competition before. Her grades are very good, and she has always been in the top 50, yes. She has participated in many competitions, and she is very academic. She has some connection with Linhi. No wonder Linhi often buys me desserts, because every time I come here, I can see him looking at the person he wants to see. After each purchase, he always looks very happy. I thought he was because of me. A swollen, bitter feeling arose in my heart, which I forced down. To confirm that the love letter was from Li Qian, I approached her when she came out. Hello, Li, I'm a friend of Linhi's. He forgot something. Ah, did he? Li Qian didn't have such a high level of vigilance. She checked her backpack and said in confusion, he only explained 2 problems to me, then lent me his math notebook. He probably didn't leave anything behind. They definitely knew each other. I looked at the familiar orange-covered notebook. This was one I had bought for Linhi. I used to ask him math questions, but he wasn't very patient. I was too embarrassed to say I didn't understand. So I stopped asking later. Maybe I got it wrong. I'll tell him later. I left with Chen Pan, who excitedly handed me a mango mousse, but I had no appetite. When I was feeling down, everything tasted bitter. Why aren't you eating? Isn't it delicious? Chen Pan pushed me. Hey, what did you say to Li Qian just now? Nothing. How do you know her name is Li Qian? Chen Pan looked around and lowered her voice. Because my friend said she was the adopted daughter of Li Laoban. And then I remembered her. Oh, 8. Now I know who the author of the love letter is, and I feel much lighter in my heart. I wonder what kind of expectations and feelings Linhi had when he wrote this love letter. I envy Li Qian. I'm recalling when I confessed my feelings to Linhi in my 2nd year of high school. What did he say back then? Oh, he said, understood. The tone was cold and distant, as if it were a bother. In the evening, I finished organizing the wrong questions and planned to review some English words. The phone lighted up, and Song Su sent me several documents. Song Su, this is my mother's math test paper. You can do it too. Ask me if you don't understand. His mother is a training teacher for the Olympiad math class, so I also got some extra tutoring. I thanked him and sent a meme. Suddenly, the door of the room opened. Linhi entered with a gloomy expression. This was the first time he had entered without knocking. Did you touch something in my room? He didn't say what it was, but I knew. My heart felt uneasy, and I took the letter out from the drawer. Sorry, I didn't mean to peek. I had intended to play matchmaker for them, but I didn't expect it to be exposed so quickly. Linhi took back the letter, probably because his secret was exposed. His face was very bad. I felt a sourness in my heart, but still gathered my courage and said, I know who you wrote about in the letter. It's that girl from the dessert shop, right? Since you like her, you should confess to her sooner. She's so excellent. What if someone else gets her first? Anyway, the college entrance examination is coming soon. After it's over, you can pursue her properly. Then you can buy desserts for her openly without having to use the excuse of buying for me. Who asked you to meddle in my business? He stared at me with a deep gaze, full of anger. I just want you to be a bit happier. Happier? He snorted. I guess you're eager to get rid of me now that you've started dating someone else. You said you liked me before, but you've changed pretty quickly. I was stunned, not expecting him to think that way. You don't like me, so do you expect me to hang on to one tree forever? I retorted angrily. Yes. You'd better not hang on to me. I find it unlucky, he said coldly. Then turned around and left, slamming the door. I bit my lower lip, trying hard not to let tears fall. Damn Linhi, I will never like you again in my life. 9. For the next week, I didn't say a word to Linhi. My father thought we were both studying hard, so he didn't say anything. I'm free this weekend. I'm going to the library with Song Su to do problems. His grades are better than mine, and his thinking is more flexible. He often explains problems to me when I feel stressed. He will take me for a drive on his black motorcycle. Just thinking about us being good friends for a long time makes me have some expectations for the future. Maybe I've worked twice as hard this time, and my grades improved by more than 10 places in the monthly exam. My father was so happy after getting a call from the homeroom teacher, Linhi, who was making coffee, heard it and glanced at me, muttering with a low laugh, "Wow, dating didn't affect your studies, you too. You were infatuated with someone but it didn't stop you from getting first place in the exam." I intentionally provoked him back, turned around and went back to my room to study, not looking at his dark expression. College entrance exam countdown 1 month, that was the time when I was the most indifferent, my mind only focused on studying and scores, with no time to think about love. June comes with the hot weather. Along with the college entrance exam, this time I was well prepared. And I wrote with confidence. Even the last math problem, which I used to give up on, I could at least answer something this time, although I didn't know if the answer was correct. 10. The final bell rang, ending the exam. It also marks the end of my high school life once again. I walked out of the exam room and saw Li Qian and Linhi standing together. She seemed to have not done well on some questions and was impatiently checking answers with him. Maybe it's because love makes one see beauty in the beloved. Linhi is always more patient with her than with others. I passed by them and ran towards Chenpan and Song Su. We had agreed to go to the amusement park, KTV, and Happy Valley, and have a great time. During the time before the results came out, I was constantly out having fun, and my father didn't even bother to manage me anymore. It's strange that Linhi calls me every day and asks me what time I'll be back. Sometimes, if I come back late, Song Su will ride his bike to send me home. Every time he runs into me, he will make some sarcastic remarks. For example, today is my birthday, and I'm officially 18 years old. I came home late at night, had some alcohol, and Song Su didn't ride his bike. He walked slowly with me. When I got to the building, he suddenly called out to me, "Li Wan, from now on, I'll spend every birthday with you, okay?" The sky was too dark, and I couldn't see his expression clearly. Thinking that this was the beginning of our revolutionary friendship. "Of course it's good, you're my best brother." I slapped him several times, and he coughed, with a hint of loneliness in his eyes. "You hit hard, you almost didn't have a brother anymore." We looked at each other and laughed. We just happened to meet Linhi when he came down to throw out the trash. He looked at us with resentment and said in a bad mood, "Li Wan, it's already past 12, aren't you going home? Hey, go back. Your little childhood friend is calling you." Song Su whispered teasingly, waved at me, and reminded me to go home and have some honey water. 11. The elevator was going up, and Linhi was still talking. For the first time, I found him talkative like an old woman. "Are you annoying? I'm back, aren't I?" He stiffened, his tone strange. "Am I annoying? You promised me you'd be back before 10, what if something happened to you?" How would I explain it to Uncle? Today is an exception. And I'm with Song Su. There's no danger. Even if I don't come back, I have somewhere to go. Going out at night. Where else do you want to go with him? Don't think because you're dating he can do whatever he wants. Linhi's tone became serious, his whole body full of alertness. I looked at him strangely. "Why are you so angry?" He looked away uncomfortably and fell silent. Entering the house, I was pouring water when he spoke in a low voice. "You have your birthday today. Why didn't you invite me?" "Oh, I forgot." "Actually, I didn't forget. I just didn't want to think about unhappy things on such a happy day." Linhi lowered his eyes and went to the fridge to get me some honey. After a while, he handed me a blue box. "Happy birthday." "Thank you." I finished the honey water, but I didn't feel like opening the gift box. He hesitated for a while, then seemed to want to say something but held back, and went back to his room with his head down. I don't have high expectations for the gift he gave me. He used to give me a doll every year. Those kind of dolls you can get by scanning a QR code on the street, common dolls you can see everywhere. Now, my bed is still filled with those stuffed toys. I opened the box without much interest, and was instantly stunned. It was a handmade little girl, carrying a sunflower backpack, very similar to me when I was young. The person who wove it was clearly a beginner. With 2 obvious holes visible to the eye, he actually made it by hand. This is really rare in my life. 12. The day the college entrance exam results came out, my father accompanied us to check the scores. Linhi unsurprisingly still got high scores, 698. When I saw the score of 622, tears immediately flowed down my face. "Great, great, you really made me proud," my father said with red eyes. Patting my head, and said he would take us out for a big meal that night. My father took a screenshot of the score and quickly posted it on his social media to show off. By the way, Wan, where do you plan to go to school? When are you going to fill out your application? I'll stay in a 985 university here. I want to be close to my father. Chen Pan and Song-Soo seem to also plan to study in the same province. Okay, then I don't have to worry about you going to a distant city where you don't know anyone. I didn't do well last time, so I had to choose nursing as my major. This time I can choose to study medicine. My mother passed away when I was very young. Back then medical technology wasn't advanced, so I want to contribute as much as I can. Linhi saw his own score, and seemed unsurprised. Li Qian's score is probably similar to his. They can go to Beijing University together. That's really great. While my father was on the phone, Linhi suddenly asked me, do you want to stay in the local area mainly because of Song-Soo? Do you really like him that much? What's that got to do with you? I'm a bit annoyed with him now, feeling like he's been getting too involved lately. Linhi was staring at me, and his expression was no longer as indifferent as before. Li Wan, if you say so, I can also stay in this province with you. No need. You have such good grades, staying here would be a waste. You should go to your ideal Beijing University. Li Qian is probably also going to get in, and you two can keep each other company. I didn't give her the love letter. Oh, my phone lit up, and Song-Soo was calling me. I was just about to answer the call when Linhi grabbed my wrist, looking a bit angry. Don't you care at all? Care about what? Care about you, who said not to hang on one tree, worried about bad luck. He turned pale all of a sudden when I repeated the exact words back to him. I pulled my hand away and went to the balcony to answer the phone. 13. Song-Soo's parents both work in this province, so he stayed here and his college application was consistent with mine. Great, we can ride bikes together again. After that day, I didn't pay much attention to Linhi's movements, whether he chased Li Qian or not. It had nothing to do with me. A month passed, I spent every day with Song-Soo, learning to drive and taking the driving test, and I got a bit tanned. Linhi received the admission notice from Beijing University, and he left without saying goodbye to me at the start of the semester, as if he was upset with me. The daily life of a medical student is so busy, there's so much knowledge to learn. I run between the library and the classroom every day, and Song-Soo has to choose a time to invite me to eat. During the final exams, I looked at two thick books like bricks and felt like crying. Song-Soo noticed I was getting thinner and often brought me food and kept me company while I studied. Why do you look so relaxed? Don't you need to study at all? I asked him. It's all in my head. He shrugged. I enviously look at every person with a good memory, probably because Song-Soo often comes to see me. The classmates started talking and thought he was chasing me, and I also vaguely felt something, that he was different from others towards me. But Song-Soo always acted as if everything was the same, so I didn't initiatively point it out. After the exam, I celebrated Song-Soo's birthday at school, but my mind was preoccupied with whether I had answered my pathology questions correctly. Song-Soo looked at the candles and smiled. I don't have any wishes. Maybe I'll wish for you. Li Wan, don't be so serious. I'll wish for you in the future. Will that make you smile? I forced a smile and didn't hold back at all. I hope I don't fail the class, please. Okay, the heavens have heard. He blew out the candles, smiling with a look of indulgence in his eyes. 14. During the summer vacation, I met Linhi, who I hadn't contacted for half a year. He still chose law, and seemed to be frequently involved in various debate competitions and club activities, and was quite busy. For the past 2 weeks, we have been getting along peacefully, like strangers, until Thursday night. Linhi went out to a friend's gathering and came back very late. I was almost asleep when I heard a stumbling sound at the door, which knocked into the entrance cabinet. I walked out and saw Linhi sitting on the floor, looking dejected. What's wrong? Did you get drunk? I was about to make him some honey water when he suddenly grabbed my wrist. Li Wan, I met Song-Soo today. Then what? He said you two never actually got together. Oh. I responded indifferently, not knowing how I had triggered his nerves. Linhi suddenly stood up and pushed me against the wall, his eyes filled with complex emotions. Why didn't you tell me? Why did you let me be mistaken for so long? Is it fun to play with me? Do you know how much He didn't finish speaking. His red eyes looked like they were about to cry. I looked at him without any expression, but I wasn't really emotionless inside. But I just found it funny. Linhi, I explained to you before. But you didn't want to listen. Now, What position do you have to question me? In silence, he seemed to recall a scene from a long time ago in that cafeteria, where he saw Liwan sitting with a boy. He had to admit that at that moment he felt very annoyed. This feeling had been continuing until now, getting deeper and deeper. Linhi wiped his eyes and looked at me with courage. Liwan, I think I can't let go of you. Can you continue to like me? I had imagined this scene many times before. But when it actually happened, it was already too late. No, why? He became anxious and tightly gripped me. Was it because of that love letter? I was immature before, couldn't tell the difference between love and admiration. I don't like Li Qian. I just felt a kind of mutual understanding with her. Is that true? But I never felt your love for me. I only felt his impatience and indifference towards me. Give me a chance. Let's start over, and I'll make sure you feel it properly, okay? He begged, with a drunken gaze staring at me, as if I were the last lifeline when he was drowning, but he didn't feel it. He hurt me at this moment. I pushed him several times, but he didn't let go. The more I resisted, the more anxious he became. Liwan, please like me again. He bent down to kiss me. I panicked and turned away, and I slapped him. The loud sound shattered the quiet night. The pain on my face brought his sanity back. He suddenly let go. I'm sorry, I didn't listen to his explanation and ran back to my room. 15. The next day, I tried to act like nothing happened, but Linhi's eyes looked very guilty. At noon, Song-soo came to pick me up. We had agreed to go see the latest released movie today. He knocked on the door lazily and even put on sunglasses to show off. As soon as I opened the door, he saw my gloomy expression and his face turned serious. What's wrong with you? Are you sick or in a bad mood? It's okay. I reached for my hat to put it on, and he suddenly grabbed my wrist. A red mark, even some bruising, was clearly caused by external force. Who did this? He became alert and even showed some police-like demeanor. I accidentally hurt myself. Song-soo clearly didn't believe me. His eyes fixed on Linhi on the sofa, and he grabbed his collar and pulled him forward. Did you bully her? Yes, Linhi has been staring at us since earlier, and he's already extremely annoyed. You bastard. Song-soo suddenly swung a punch, and I was so scared that I grabbed him immediately. It seemed that Linhi had found an outlet for his frustration, pulling Song-soo to fight with him. I was flustered and shouted for them to stop. If my dad comes back and sees the mess, he'll definitely scold us to death. Stop fighting. Can't you be calm for a moment? I grabbed Song-soo and pulled him away, seeing that he had a wound on his face. How could a future people's police officer be so impulsive? However, Linhi's face wasn't much better either. Song-soo had been trained, and he specifically targeted the painful spots. Linhi's face was pale, but there were no visible marks for the time being. Song-soo didn't dare to say a word when I glared at him. He weakly said, "The movie is about to start. Let's go." "Why are you watching a movie? You're injured like this. Come with me to buy some medicine." I angrily pulled him out of the door, completely forgetting that there was another person who was also injured. Linhi looked at the two figures walking away, feeling lonely as he covered his abdomen. After buying the medicine, I applied it to Song-soo, and he winced in pain. Don't fight recklessly anymore. What you learned is for protecting the people, not for fighting. Humph. He bullied you, and you're still defending him. I'm not. I'm speaking for you. If you get reported and punished, won't it affect your job as a police officer? Song-soo was taken aback. A smile tugged at the corner of his mouth, but then it dropped again due to the pain. Liwan, you're so worried about me. No, you have. 16. Since the argument with Linhi, he hasn't done anything extreme anymore, but he really seems to have started liking me, trying to make me feel it. Every holiday, he comes back to cook for me and gives me carefully prepared gifts. On my birthday, National Day, Christmas, there's always his presence at school. I see him with dark circles under his eyes from traveling by plane. I just feel he's wasting his time, but he only cares about whether I'm happy or not. My senior year birthday, also the end of my undergraduate studies. I studied for 7 years in a row, and after that I would move to another campus. Song-soo was sent to do a task by the bureau and couldn't come back to celebrate my birthday. Linhi was cooking in the kitchen, and he had prepared all the dishes I like. I was staring at the chat window with Song-soo, distracted. What are you looking at? Dinner is ready. Nothing. I don't know what Song-soo has been busy with these days. Is what he's doing dangerous? If he, Linhi coldly cut me off, and I suddenly came back to my senses, realizing that the person sitting in front of me was Linhi. You've been mentioning him since I came back. He looked very dissatisfied. But also helpless. Oh, sorry, Li Wan, when will you finally look at me? Eat, this soup looks good. Linhi felt he had tried hard enough. Why couldn't he go back to the past? Late at night, I was about to go to sleep when my phone lit up. Song-Soo, open the window. I quickly pulled back the curtain and saw Song-Soo standing below, waving something that was glowing on his hand. I ran down and looked at him in surprise. You said you might not be back from the mission. Yes. But I couldn't help it. I promised someone, and I'll be with her every birthday from now on. He handed me the bottle that was glowing in his hand. The fireflies are flying inside, flickering in the dark. It's for you. I saw it when I was on a mission. I thought you might like it. Thank you. I smiled at him, feeling that he had more to say. I vaguely guessed what it was, but he kept looking at me, and finally sighed gently. Li Wan. Happy birthday, 17, Song-Soo was interning. I was in graduate school when Song-Soo became a team leader in the police station. I had just started my internship in the hospital. Every time I see people suffering from illness or death, I feel a bit sad, until one day, several seriously injured people were brought to the hospital. Song-Soo was among them. His abdomen was stabbed, his spleen was injured, and he was bleeding heavily. My mentor worked hard to save him, and only after the red light in the operating room went out did he stabilize. I took a moment to check on him, and his face was pale, as if he wouldn't wake up any second. I had red eyes and silently prayed that he wouldn't have any more problems. Late at night, I was reviewing neurosurgery knowledge by his bedside when I suddenly saw his finger move slightly. Looking up, I met his eyes. Li Wan, did you save me? No, it was my mentor. I only helped a little bit. I got up to check his condition, asked if he felt dizzy or wanted to vomit, and recorded everything. Then I felt relieved. You look very professional now. Song-Soo smiled, his eyes bright. Of course, I did study hard for 7 years. Then I'll rely on Dr. Li in the future. What are you talking about? Don't let me see you in the hospital again. He smiled, gently touching my fingertip with his wrist. After hesitating for a while, he didn't take my hand. A nurse came to call me for rounds, and I gave him some instructions before leaving. Then came the busy daily routine. Song-Soo stayed in the hospital for a month, and many colleagues came to visit him. Every time I went for rounds, his friend would wink and make a face, as if everyone understood, but Song-Soo didn't show any reaction at all, until the day he was discharged. He didn't say anything, and he still called me Dr. Li. I handed him the medicine in a bad mood and wrote down the instructions clearly. Hey, Song-Soo, is there anything you want to say to me? What? I will strictly follow the medical advice. He pretended not to know. I glared at him in anger. You'd better never say it. 18. In the following years, Song-Soo often went on missions, traveling all over the country, and sometimes I couldn't reach him. Linhi was still as excellent as ever, entering a top law firm after graduation, and became a top lawyer within a few years. He is now very rich and sometimes sends me some strange but very expensive things. I haven't even had a chance to open some of them. They're all piled up in my father's study. The hospital is too busy. Sometimes I don't even have time to eat. Linhi came to see me a few times, but he didn't say much, and I had to go back to work again. He still doesn't give up. Whenever he has time he contacts me, and sometimes he sends flowers to the hospital. Sometimes when I'm drunk, he calls me and repeatedly asks me, Li Wan, how can you possibly like me? Tell me, okay, why are you doing this to me? You were the one who liked me first. How can you just change your mind? I was wrong. I shouldn't have said those things. Please come back. Let's continue to like each other. Li Wan, I really miss you. No one's feelings change all of a sudden. In the many years we've been together, in the 10 years we got married in the previous life, he had so many chances to say I love you. Since he didn't, then it's over. Look forward. 19. Time passed quickly, and I'm now 32 years old again. In the previous life, I died in an elevator accident in December of that year. I don't know if anything will happen this year. The phone rang and interrupted my thoughts. Song-Soo's lazy voice came through. Dr. Li, my birthday is next week. What are you going to give me? I let out a cold laugh. I'll give you the best wishes. This guy has been dragging his feet for so many years not to confess his feelings to me, making us not a couple but yet closer than one, which has seriously affected my love life. He even wants me to give him gifts. Dream on. He smiled faintly and said, the Bureau is planning to promote me. My overseas assignments will be reduced. And I can stay in this province permanently from now on. Oh, and then what? I also played dumb with him. Then, this year's birthday wish I made myself. If my wish is to confess my feelings to you, do you think it will come true? You try it. I tried to stay calm, but a bit of sweetness rose in my heart. Before the phone call ended, a nurse rushed in and said the director needed to hold an emergency meeting. I quickly took my notebook and rushed over. The director said that a magnitude 8 earthquake had occurred in Tongqing, and the hospital needed to send personnel for support. No wonder I felt a dizziness at noon. It wasn't a delusion after all. I'm on the list. I quickly gathered my things and followed the group to Tongqing. When I arrived at the scene, there was a pile of ruins and cries of sorrow. My colleague and I didn't have time to grieve. We immediately joined the support efforts. There are not enough supplies here. The roads are also inconvenient to access, and many medicines are missing. We all posted on WeChat to call for help, and Linhi immediately contacted me, saying he could donate supplies. Me, thank you, Lin lawyer. Linhi, how do you thank me? Is that all you can say to me? Me, I have to go to work. Linhi, take care. Contact me if you need anything. 20. Late at night, I was about to take over the shift with a colleague when a sudden tremor made people panic. Quick, get under the table. My colleague shouted. I had just taken a step when the ground suddenly gave way. The broken earth blocks fell quickly, then there was darkness, and I lost consciousness. The second earthquake was not as strong as the first, but the damage was still significant. I was trapped below, pinned by the rocks, unable to move. I don't know how long it had been, but my body started to go numb, and my hands lost sensation. I was parched and too weak to even shout for help. The darkness around me made me think of the moment the elevator lost gravity. Was it all predestined? Am I still going to die? My phone in my pocket lit up, and I saw it was Song-Soo calling, but I couldn't answer it. That's terrible. I even got a second chance at life, but still couldn't hear the confession from the person I like. My consciousness gradually faded away, and my body also started to lose warmth. A hurried voice came from above. Li Wan, where are you? 21. It felt like I had slept for a century. When I woke up, I found myself back at the hospital where I work. Li Wan, you're awake. How are you? Is there anywhere that hurts? Song-Soo was looking at me anxiously, his eyes filled with tears. I shook my head. How was the rescue? Are the colleagues who were trapped with me okay? He was angry, but then grabbed my hand as if he had found something precious. Good that you're awake. He bent down, and tears fell on my hand, especially scorching. Did you save me? Yes, I couldn't reach you. And then our team was sent for support. Thank you, thanks, you've saved me too. We're even. Song-Soo called a doctor to check me, then bought me a nutritional meal and fed me bite by bite, like taking care of a child. I stayed in the hospital for a few days, and Song-Soo watched over me for those few days. On the day I was discharged, Song-Soo suddenly wasn't there. I packed my things by myself and planned to go home and have a good meal. As I was about to leave the hospital, roses suddenly started falling from the sky. I hadn't even reacted yet. Song-Soo was dressed formally, kneeling on one knee in front of me, the diamond ring in his hand shining. Li Wan, I like you. I've liked you since high school, but because of my career, I've always been afraid to be stable with you, worried about holding you back. Now, can you give me this chance? Li Wan, will you marry me? His colleagues and friends were throwing petals around, and my colleagues were also cheering. I was so embarrassed my face turned bright red. Who came up with this stupid idea? It's so cheesy. I covered my face, catching a glimpse of a well-dressed figure outside the crowd. He was holding a bouquet of roses, as if he had rushed over, with sweat on his forehead. His face was pale, and he touched the square box in his pocket. Dr. Li, how much longer do you want me to kneel? Song-Soo asked me in a low voice, his eyes filled with anxiety. I laughed and said, I do. The ring was perfectly sized for my ring finger. Finally, I waited for it. Song-Soo suddenly hugged me and cried excitedly. Wow, Captain, are you okay? The girls didn't cry. Do you understand? That's love. I'm so envious. If I go back to high school, is it still possible? I don't want to be a lonely king anymore. That night, I received a message from Linhi. Are you really going to marry him? Li Wan, I was with you the longest. Why is it him in the end? Take another look at me. Okay, I deleted the message and blocked him. The person behind me wrapped around me and kissed me. Focus. 22. The day I married Song-Soo. He didn't come, but he sent a very expensive diamond. When Song-Soo saw the gift, he started to act suspiciously. thinking that Linhi still had ulterior motives. Then he set the diamond on a collar and put it on my father's poodle. A year after my marriage, Linhi was still single. Later, I got pregnant and gave birth to a daughter, and he was still single. My father even advised him to find a girlfriend soon, as there were so many girls chasing him. He silently drank, his face dark and gloomy. After dinner, Linhi looked at the little girl in the crib and bit his lip. Li-wan, she looks like you. If only back then. He didn't finish, held back his feelings, and sighed slightly. Song-soo frowned and looked at him suspiciously. What are you thinking? She's my wife, legal, don't have any wrong ideas. Linhi laughed bitterly. She's only legal for now, life is so long, who knows when they might get divorced, he thought maliciously, a bitter feeling rising in his heart. You. Song-soo wanted to punch him again, but restrained himself in front of the family. On the way back, Song-soo was in a bad mood. He wanted to scold a dog just for passing by. In the middle of the night, Song-soo suddenly got up and asked me, "Wife, where did you put the marriage certificate? What's wrong?" "I'm going to hide it." "What's wrong with you?" I went back to sleep, and he started thinking about where to hide it. End of main text. Extra chapter. My name is Linhi. From the first day I arrived at the Lee family, I knew that I and Li-wan would never be equal, although Uncle Lee was very kind to me. If Li-wan fell down, he would blame me for not watching her properly, so I always followed Li-wan and protected her. People say I'm a man who lives off his wife's family. I didn't argue back, because that's how it is, living under someone else's roof. I really hate that feeling. I also hate Li-wan because of the hatred for the house. She always lingers around me, wanting to follow me to do this and that. I can't refuse her, but I feel repulsion from the bottom of my heart. In order not to make my uncle think that I'm an ungrateful foster child, I have to please Li-wan and not let her get angry. As I grew older, she became more and more beautiful and well-behaved. I started to often glance at her, and when she found out, I would pretend to be cold and say she was vain. I don't want to fall in love with her. I don't want to lose my last bit of dignity. However, in my second year of high school, Li-wan confessed her feelings to me. I couldn't help but feel happy in my heart, but I forced myself to suppress it. Her response to me was a bit disappointed, but the next day she kept chasing after me. One day, she got sick, the medicine was too bitter, and she asked me to go buy her dessert. Seeing her about to cry, I had no choice but to agree. In the dessert shop, I met Li Qian. She had accidentally broken a freshly made cake, and her adoptive father scolded her for being useless and a burden. If I hadn't been there, that man might have been even harsher. I watch Li Qian's carefulness, and feel that we are the same. Later, I often made an excuse to buy desserts for Li Yuan, and went to the store to look for Li Qian. Every time I bought desserts, I didn't rush back. I sat in the store, feeling like I had gotten a moment of respite. Those were the few times when I didn't have to take care of Li Yuan's and Uncle's emotions. Sometimes we would talk about our family backgrounds. Li Qian would always sigh, but then she would try hard to study, like a tenacious little grass. I should like girls like her. Only she could understand my feelings. I wrote Li Qian a love letter, but I never sent it out. I always felt that my feelings for her weren't enough, and that would be unfair to her. Recently, Li Yuan has been acting strangely. She always wants to get rid of me. I saw her laughing and talking with Song-soo. I probably guessed that they were dating, saying that she likes me. She changed so fast. I was secretly happy, thinking I could get rid of her. At the same time, I was a bit angry. Why did she like someone else? Later, I found that the love letter was missing. I instinctively suspected that Li Yuan took it. I felt a bit panicked and angry, and went to look for her. She was surprisingly calm, as if it didn't matter to her who I liked. I was very annoyed. On the day of filling in the college application, I told Li Yuan that I could stay with her, but she's not interested in me anymore. I was both angry and upset, so I went to Beijing University far away. After arriving, I felt very regretful again. I'm not by Li-wan's side, but Song-soo is. Li-wan doesn't talk to me anymore, and even if she does, her lips are always mentioning Song-soo's name. I really hate this. The girl in front of me, wearing a high school uniform and with a face full of collagen, made me a bit unable to react. Young, but no matter what I do, we can't go back. Many years have passed, and Li-wan and Song-soo never ended up together. I think I still have a chance, but Li-wan is very busy and always ignores me. I gave her the most expensive things, but she no longer smiled at me like before. I am very scared. Until Li-wan was rescued, I was completely broken. and suddenly realized that I couldn't wait any longer. I had ordered a diamond ring and flowers, and rushed over. It was still too late. I feel so regretful. Song-soo was right. I had so many years to keep Lee-won, but I didn't. I made her sad. I myself pushed her into someone else's arms. I don't want to wish them well. I just want to wish Won well. Forever happy. Story 2. I've married my childhood friend 38 times. Each time, my former fiancé, Ji-gue fan, would come to wreck the wedding scene. He would tear off my veil with a gloomy expression and rough movements. Ji-ran, how dare you marry another man without my permission? Ignoring my cries and pleas, he would take me back and house arrest me. Subjecting me to wanton humiliation, I resisted, struggled, and even called the police, trying every means to escape, but every time I would be caught by Ji-gue fan. He threatened me with the lives and fortunes of my childhood friend's entire family and my career prospects, forcing me to compromise again and again. However, when I finally compromised and stayed by his side obediently, he thought I was rigid and lifeless. I was reborn 37 times, and each life ended badly. During my 38th rebirth, I didn't want to endure it anymore, since every choice seemed to be wrong. Then I choose for Ji-gue fan to die. 1. I opened my eyes again and saw the gentle and affectionate face of my childhood friend, Chin Jeon. He choked up and said, Ran, I've finally married you, but there was no ripple in my heart. This is my 38th rebirth, including the original life. I have married Chin Jeon 39 times. Each time, the wedding was never completed smoothly. Ji-ran. Sure enough, the next second, Ji-gue fan's enraged voice sounded. I turned my head and saw his figure already appearing at the end of the red carpet, staring at me with a gloomy expression. Chin Jeon immediately stood guard in front of me protectively. Don't be afraid, he said firmly. Today is our wedding. I won't let anyone ruin this wonderful day. It's useless. The Ji family is a business tycoon with great power and influence. So even though Chin Jeon and I kept the news of our marriage airtight, and we even set the wedding location on the back mountain of a distant relative's hometown of Chin Jeon, he could still find out and come in time to stop it. And Chin Jeon and I, one is an orphan with no one to rely on, and the other is an ordinary student from a small town who excels in exams, against Ji-gue fan, the only son of the Ji family. It's simply like a mayfly shaking a tree or a mantis trying to block a cart. Chin Jeon had already instructed his relatives that as soon as Ji-gue fan appeared, some people would immediately hold hoes and machetes, intending to intimidate them, but obviously, they were no match for these well-trained professional bodyguards. Ji-gue fan didn't even ask them to take action. He threw out large amounts of red banknotes. And those villagers immediately bent down to pick them up, escorted by bodyguards. Ji-gue fan came to me unobstructed. Chin Jeon was held back by the bodyguards and shouted heartbreakingly, Ji-gue fan, you're not allowed to touch her. Ji-gue fan ignored him and just sneered at me. Ji-ran, you've really got some nerve. He tore off my veil and corsage in one go, and there was an uncontrollable violence between his handsome eyebrows and eyes. How dare you marry another man without my permission? Checking in at the famous scene, Brother Ji is so handsome. I think the female lead should stop struggling and just submit to our Brother Ji. Yeah, he has already realized his mistake. He loves you so much. Just go back with him obediently. My pupils trembled. I was shocked when I saw these colorful bullet comments in front of me. These didn't appear in the previous 37 times. Ji-ran. Are you even listening to me, seeing that I didn't react much? Ji-gue fan became even angrier. He grabbed my wrist and pulled me, wanting to leave. Come with me. Didn't you always want to marry me? We'll go back and get married. Stop being angry. Love me obediently like you used to, and I'll spare Chin Jeon. Why isn't the female lead saying anything? Is she stunned by Brother Ji's domineering handsomeness? How is that possible? She must be thinking about running away in her heart. This drama is about forced love, so she won't be so obedient. This man is so despicable. When the female lead was running after him, he was extremely annoyed by her. Now that the female lead doesn't love him anymore, he's sticking to her. Those who slandered him before, get out. Make it clear that it was the female lead's mother who first tried to get something in return for her kindness, which led to this engagement for the female lead. Brother Ji really didn't like the female lead in the early days. Is he supposed to sacrifice his whole life just because he was saved by her mother? I couldn't agree more. And the female lead's mother was also very scheming. If she hadn't thought that the Ji family was rich, she wouldn't have jumped into the water to save Brother Ji. So Brother Ji is pitiful. In the early days, The female lead was really submissive and not likable. It's normal for him to dislike her. I thought I had already become numb after experiencing the chaotic lives of the previous 37 times, but when I heard someone say that my mother was scheming, I couldn't help but feel angry. My mother wouldn't have died if it wasn't for saving Ji Guifan. She had already escaped from my abusive father with me and found a good job. Our lives were about to get better. She was such a good swimmer. But just because Ji Guifan, who was drowning, desperately pressed her underwater, she exhausted her strength. After sending Ji Guifan to the shore, she sank. She didn't even leave me a last word. How could she have tried to get something in return for her kindness? Okay, stop arguing, let's get in the car. The famous scene of having sex in the car is starting. I was stuffed into the car by Ji Guifan. The car door closed, blocking out Qin Zhan's cries. Ji Guifan leaned over and pressed on me. His eyes deep. Ran, do you know how sad I am? Perhaps because I didn't scold him hysterically like the previous 37 times, Ji Guifan's attitude was much gentler. There was a strong affection in his eyes, and his desire gradually rose. His big hand had lifted the wedding dress and reached under my skirt. You can't marry someone else, you're my fiancé, you're mine. Ran. His lips and tongue wandered on my neck, and the hot breath sprayed on my skin, making me feel disgusted and sticky. The bullet comments scrolled through the screen excitedly. Qin Zhan is watching outside the window, and our brother Ji is pressing the female lead on the chair and having sex with her. So exciting, Ji Guifan, I said softly. Then do you know how much I hate you? Ji Guifan paused in his actions and raised a pair of angry and sad eyes. The next moment, I had already pulled out the hairpin behind my head and stabbed the sharp end into his neck. Blood spurted out, too. The hot and sticky touch was so clear. Ji Guifan's incredulous and terrified expression still remained in front of me. In a flash, I was back at the wedding scene again. The sky was blue, the clouds were white, and the grass was green. The groom, Qin Zhan, smiled and looked at me at the end of the red carpet. The bullet comments scrolled through the screen like crazy. Holy shit, did you all see that just now? Wasn't it my imagination? I saw it. The female lead killed Brother Ji. She stabbed him to death. Goodness me, isn't the drama I'm watching about the male lead chasing after the female lead and forcing love? Isn't it about her chasing him and him running away and her being unable to escape? How did it turn into a horror scene in the blink of an eye? I remember the original plot wasn't like this. Isn't it supposed to be the famous scene of the male and female leads having sex in the car? Why did the female lead kill the male lead? Mom, it's so eerie. I don't want to watch it anymore. I want to go home. The male lead who forces women to do things deserves to die. The female lead stabbed him well. So satisfying. Don't be too happy yet, those above. Where is the exit button for this video? This rebirth occurred a little earlier than before. Ran, I've finally married you, Ji Ran, but it was only a little earlier. I looked at Ji Guifan at the end of the red carpet indifferently. The female lead's eyes are so scary. She won't try to kill Brother Ji again, will she? No, Brother Ji loves you so much. Isn't it good to go back with him and live the life of a wealthy lady in a wealthy family? Why does she have to kill someone? The female lead is so despicable. Why is she treating the male lead like this? It was clearly her and her mother who first tried to get something in return for their kindness. She was the one who provoked the male lead first. Now that the male lead has fallen in love with her, she's making that stinky face. Is she looking for trouble? That's right, the male lead's biggest mistake is that he's been too kind and good-tempered all these years, spoiling her into what she is now. Is Ji Guifan too kind and good-tempered? Then what about all the torments I've suffered all these years? Is it the retribution from heaven after my mother saved this scumbag? Either we all had an illusion just now, or this drama suddenly went crazy. The plot will definitely be normal next. That's right, that's it, don't be afraid. Qin Zhan stood in front of me just like the previous 39 times. Today is our wedding. I won't let anyone ruin. Qin Zhan, I'm sorry. I pushed him away, tore off my veil and corsage, and walked straight towards Ji Guifan. Ji Guifan at the end of the red carpet immediately stopped in his tracks, and the violence and gloom between his eyebrows and eyes melted away. He glanced triumphantly at Qin Zhan, who was blocked by the bodyguards behind me, and looked at me with a half-smile. Ji Ran, at least you have some conscience. I didn't say anything, I just stepped forward quickly, and with precision and force, I stabbed the sharp object in my hand into his neck. Ji Guifan's eyes widened in, ran. I pulled out the hairpin, and blood spurted out from his neck, under the sunlight. It was as beautiful as a fountain of blood. After a short moment of silence, a series of panicked screams immediately rang out around us. Murder. The bodyguards rushed up and pinned me to the ground. Ji Guifan covered his neck, and his body also slumped down uncontrollably. He looked terrified, in disbelief, dazed and at a loss, as if he couldn't understand how things could have turned out like this. I had clearly walked towards him on my own initiative. I had clearly loved him so much. How could I kill him? In his terrified and confused gaze, I saw myself with blood on my face, and my smile was more carefree than ever before. Holy shit, the female lead killed the male lead again. She's still smiling. My goodness, how can she still smile? My brother G. How dare the female lead? How dare she? Where the hell is the exit button? I really don't want to watch anymore. Double kill. Congratulations to the female lead for achieving a double kill. The last bullet comment caught my attention, however. Before I could take a closer look, Ji Guifan, unwilling and resentful, took his last breath. When I opened my eyes again, he had changed his clothes and was alive again. Ji ran. I'll give you one more chance. Kneel down and wipe Han Ying's shoes clean. He leaned carelessly on the leather sofa in the private room of the bar, holding a woman in a red dress in his arms, with a haughty and indifferent expression. If you do it, I'll still recognize you as my fiancé. If you don't, get out of the Ji family. Brother Guifan, this isn't very appropriate, is it? After all, Sister Ranran has an engagement with you. The woman in the red dress, Jiang Haining, Ji Guifan's childhood sweetheart, pretended to be reluctant and persuaded him. What engagement? I recognize it, and she's my fiancé. If I don't recognize it, Ji Guifan sneered. Those peach blossom eyes that should have been gentle and affectionate were now surging with resentment and jealousy. He enunciated each word clearly. She's a promiscuous and two-faced slut. I remembered. This was 2 months before my wedding with Qin Zhan. Ji Guifan saw me chatting and laughing with Qin Zhan and believed that I was promiscuous and would flirt with any man I saw, so he deliberately humiliated me. In the original life, this was the moment when I completely saw through Ji Guifan's true nature and decided to give up on him. What's going on? Why is the timeline getting earlier each time? Although I'm a fan of the male and female leads as a couple, I have to say that the male lead is really despicable at this time. Just because he saw the female lead chatting with her childhood friend for a while, he wants to humiliate the female lead like this. The male lead has probably changed dozens of bed partners. The male lead is a young master of a wealthy family. It would be strange if a 25-year-old person was still a virgin. Right, then what about the female lead? Does the female lead have to wait for the male lead with her virginity intact? It's precisely the male lead's scumminess and despicability in the early stage that can better set off how satisfying it is when he becomes a lackey for the female lead in the later stage. I like this kind of plot. I like it and I want more. Where's the satisfaction? I only see the female lead's pain and struggle. The male lead really deserves to die. I support the female lead in killing him for the 3rd time. What? You don't want to? Ji Guifan looked at me and smiled, but his eyes had no warmth at all. Do you want to be a housewife for your little childhood friend, Ji Ran? Are you really so inseparable from men? Suddenly, he flew into a rage, stood up, and grabbed my neck, gnashing his teeth and saying, do you still remember that you're my Ji Guifan's fiancé? For fuck's sake, I had difficulty breathing, but I still couldn't help laughing. Ji Guifan, do you know that you're the most despicable person I've ever met in my life? Ji Guifan raised his eyebrows in surprise and said in disbelief, what did you say? I said. I picked up the fruit knife on the fruit plate and stabbed it hard into Ji Guifan's abdomen. Then I pulled it out and stabbed it in again. I said you're a despicable person. A despicable person. Did you ever consider me your fiancé? Do you still remember that my mother died to save you? 3. Ji Guifan covered his wound and stumbled onto the sofa. His childhood sweetheart, his close friends, and the hostesses in the bar all let out a scream and scattered like birds and beasts. Ji Guifan looked in pain, but there was still residual anger on his face. It was clearly you and your mother who tried to get something in return for your kindness. Don't say that to me. I pounced on him and stabbed him with another knife. Then I held the handle of the knife and twisted it hard. The engagement between you and me was insisted on by your parents. My mother died saving you. I was only 7 years old at that time. Could a 7-year-old child coerce your G family into arranging an engagement between me and you? What's more, don't you know exactly what kind of life I've lived all these years? What kind of fiancé am I? I'm clearly a dog that your G family raised for you." In Ji Guifan's wide, terrified eyes, I saw myself, covered in blood and looking frenzied. "If it weren't for you, my mother wouldn't have died at all. She was such a good swimmer. It was you who pushed her underwater again and again. Go to hell, go to hell, go to hell." I lost count of how many times I stabbed him. I just felt an unprecedented sense of relief. The resentment and indignation that had been pent up for so many years had finally found an outlet to pour out. In the end, Ji Guifan lay on the sofa with his eyes wide open. The part below his neck was a mass of blood and flesh, and it was impossible to tell it was a human shape. I was completely drained of strength and slumped down in a pool of blood, laughing with great satisfaction. The bullet comments that had briefly paused started scrolling like crazy again. Some people thought I was too heartless, some were scared by me, some people thought I was quite patient to hold on until now before going crazy. There were also those who felt sorry for Ji Guifan and cursed me wildly. I didn't care about any of it. I just stared intently at the bullet comments, until finally, another bullet comment popped up. "Triple kill. Congratulations to the female lead for achieving a triple kill." I didn't close my eyes. I watched as the scene in front of me twisted and changed. And in an instant, it became the grand hall of the G family's villa. The clothes were fragrant, the women's hair was styled beautifully, there were numerous guests, and the music was melodious. This was 3 years ago. It was Ji Guifan's mother's 50th birthday banquet. Before I could snap out of the exhilaration of killing Ji Guifan with my own hands, the 22-year-old Ji Guifan suddenly rushed out and pulled me away. He walked quickly and urgently, and I couldn't keep up at all. I instinctively struggled. Ji Guifan suddenly turned around, his eyes bloodshot. "Ji Ran, is this what you want? Do you even know what shame is?" His words were confusing, but I understood. He had been drugged. It was an aphrodisiac secretly administered to him by the sworn enemy of the Ji family. The intention was to create a scandal and shame the Ji family. As a result, Ji Guifan mistakenly thought that I was the one who had drugged him and took me to the room and raped me. Even though more than 30 lifetimes had passed, just thinking about that night's experience made me feel terrified. And Ji Guifan is not human at all. He's just a rutting beast. After that night, I fainted for a full 3 days. As soon as I woke up, I faced the harsh scolding of the entire Ji family. "I always knew you were a restless one, but I never expected you to be so bold as to drug Guifan directly at the banquet. Do you know how strong that drug is? It could have hurt Guifan's body. We raised you so big, not for you to bite the hand that feeds you." I said it wasn't me, that I didn't drug Ji Guifan, that I didn't know anything about it at all, and that it was Ji Guifan who raped me. Ji's mother scolded me. "Who else should we blame if not you? You're Guifan's fiancé. Isn't that what we keep you for? Still talking about being raped, pretending to be a chaste and heroic woman. You dared to drug him, but you don't dare to take responsibility." No one was willing to listen to my explanation. Everyone, just like Ji Guifan, believed that I was a scheming woman who coveted wealth and glory, afraid that Ji Guifan wouldn't marry me. I was trying to force the issue at the birthday banquet and make them fulfill the engagement and marry me into the family. I was punished by being put in confinement. A high fever led to pneumonia, and I almost died. Later, when the truth came out and they realized that I wasn't the one who had drugged him, they just casually said, "So it wasn't you, then why didn't you say so earlier?" Ji Guifan didn't show the slightest bit of remorse. Instead, he said jokingly, "Well, you made a profit then, Ran. If I hadn't been drugged by mistake, I might never have touched you in my life." Not only did he not apologize, he didn't even admit to wrongly accusing me. "Since you want it, I'll satisfy you." Ji Guifan's breath, reeking of alcohol, sprayed on my face. His turbid eyes, stained by wine and debauchery, were full of animalistic desire. Stop killing. Although the male lead really deserves to die at this moment, but female lead baby, you don't want to be trapped in the loop forever, right? Only by following the original plot can you truly get out of the loop. Female lead, even if I'm begging you, really stop killing. This world revolves around the male lead. Only by obediently following the original plot will the female lead gain happiness. Why doesn't she understand that? Happiness. Ever since my mother drowned while saving Ji Guifan, I've no longer had the ability to feel true happiness. Ji Guifan is the source of all my pain in this life. as long as he's alive, I'll never be able to be truly happy. Moreover, haven't I tried following the original plot? Whether I'm gentle and submissive or fiercely resistant, as long as Ji Guifan is around, I always end up with a bad outcome. I remember this plot was also very cruel. The female lead fainted for 3 days for the first time and was wrongly accused of drugging someone. She was put in confinement, had a high fever that led to pneumonia, and almost died. Our brother G didn't know the truth either. Female lead, can't you talk to him properly? That's right, at this time, he already has feelings for you in his heart. He just can't accept that the person he likes is scheming against him like this. If you talk to him properly, the result this time will definitely be different from before. I suppressed the urge to vomit and lowered my head meekly and timidly. The bullet comments were filled with joy and excitement. Thank goodness, the female lead is finally willing to make a change. Ji Guifan snorted coldly and dragged me straight upstairs. I casually took a dinner knife from the dining table and hid it in the sleeve of my dress against my skin. Wait a minute, no, did I see it wrong? As soon as we entered the door, Ji Guifan threw me onto the bed and then pounced on me eagerly. Ji ran, how old are you and already so lustful? Are you so afraid that I won't marry you that you're willing to drug me just to tie yourself to me? Is this your love for me? Ji ran, fine, I'll grant you your wish. The dinner knife pierced through the fabric of his suit and stabbed into his lower body without a sound. Perhaps the pain comes more slowly to someone who has been drugged with a powerful aphrodisiac. It wasn't until the blood from my second stab splattered on my face that Ji Guifan realized it was his own blood, not the blush on my face. For, the pain came crashing down, and he involuntarily arched his body, like a shrimp with its intestines removed. Ji ran, are you crazy? The bullet comments were equally in a state of collapse. Didn't you say you would talk properly? Why are you stabbing him again? Talk properly. Why should I talk properly to a beast? He doesn't understand human language anyway. And it would just be a waste of my breath. But I was still in a good mood and replied to Ji Guifan's words, I'm not crazy. I'm just fighting back against a rapist who has lost his humanity. Ji Guifan was twitching in pain and curled up into a ball. His face was as red as if it were, his eyes filled with shock, anger, resentment, and more than anything, confusion and bewilderment. A rapist? After understanding the meaning of the word, he became angry. Ji ran, get it straight. It was clearly you who drugged me. No, if I really drugged you, it would only be rat poison, not an aphrodisiac. Even in such intense pain, Ji Guifan's expression showed a brief moment of blankness. He really couldn't understand the deep-seated hatred I had for him. The Ji family had been kind to me. I had been his fiancée since I was a child. Whether I truly loved him or loved the Ji family's wealth and power, it was always my own choice. How could I hate him so much that I wanted to kill him? Ji ran, no, you're not. Ji ran. He dragged his body, which was on the verge of fainting from the pain, off the bed and crawled towards the door. Somebody, help. But just like in the original life, when I was being tortured under Ji Guifan and desperately calling for help with no response. This time Ji Guifan's cries for help also went unanswered. I lightly jumped off the bed and locked the door from the inside. Ji Guifan, why did you think it was me who gave you the aphrodisiac? I had wanted the answer to this question for so long. All these years in the Ji family, I was nominally your fiancé, but in reality, wasn't I just a personal nanny that your parents raised for you? No, a nanny has human rights, a salary, and holidays. I'm different. I squatted down and tapped his face with the blood-stained dinner knife one by one. I not only had to be at your beck and call, but I also had to endure all kinds of humiliation from you and your cronies, deliberately pushing me into the water, ordering me to go halfway across the city to buy mung bean cakes and then not eating them, making me cook chicken soup for your beloved childhood sweetheart. That's all fine. Deleting the contract, causing me to mess up the company project and owe 1,000,000 yuan in debt, snatching away the precious sponsorship spot igot, making me take the blame for your cheating crony, and getting me a major demerit, one after another. Ji Guifan, do you know how long I've remembered these things and how long I've hated you? Although I used to ship the male and female leads, well, I can't do it anymore now. I support the female lead in killing the scumbag. Brother G was a bit mischievous. But the female lead really did live a wealthy life in the G family all these years, and Brother G didn't like the female lead before. With his status, what kind of woman couldn't he find? It's not like he was tied to a country bumpkin girl from the countryside since he was a child. He was too, you know, Ji Guifan covered his wound and gasped for breath with difficulty. I admit, I really did these things wrong, but Ran. You also have to understand me, having a fiancé out of the blue. I wasn't exactly happy about it either. I slashed his face with a knife. Did I force your parents to arrange this engagement for us with a knife? Ji Guifan, have you forgotten that I was only 7 years old when my mother drowned saving you? The tip of the knife approached Ji Guifan's eyes, and only then did fear spread in his eyes. It was your parents who arranged the engagement between me and you in order to have a good reputation for the company. You never even asked about my true wishes. I don't want a goddamn fiancé at all. I scratched his face fiercely. I want my mother. I want my living mother. Ji Guifan, give me back my mother. No, the tip of the knife stabbed deeply into his eye socket, and I heard a scream that was extremely satisfying. The female lead is so ruthless, but why do I feel kind of satisfied? My brother G. Don't struggle, those above, anyway. We can't exit, otherwise. Let's look at it from the female lead's perspective and treat it as a revenge story that makes people feel great. I didn't let Ji Guifan die as easily as the previous 3 times. Even if he was blind, he still had his hands. Even if his hands were broken, he still had his feet. The blood flowed bit by bit. He was in so much pain that he didn't have the strength to scream. When the dinner knife finally stabbed into his neck, I even saw a look of relief on his face. Quadra-kill. Congratulations to the female lead for achieving a quadra-kill. This time, it was 7 years ago. Ji Guifan and I were 18 years old and in our senior year of high school. Am I going to search your school bag myself, or are you going to hand over that necklace voluntarily? The 18-year-old Ji Guifan had a youthful look in his eyes and brows, but that annoying air of contempt and arrogance seemed to be innate, firmly taking root between his eyebrows. What's going on now? I know. The supporting female character, Jiang Haining, suspects that the female lead stole her necklace and is here to demand an explanation. The male lead knew that Jiang Haining didn't like the female lead, so to please her, he directly bought an identical necklace and put it in the female lead's school bag. No, what does that mean? Deliberately torturing the female lead. You guys upstairs just found out. This drama has been torturing the female lead from beginning to end. But now our female lead has risen up and can knock down the male lead and the supporting female character in no time. I ignored the unruly Ji Guifan. I looked around and, as expected, saw the looks of disdain or contempt from everyone. What a pity, this was the classroom, and there were no convenient weapons at hand. I wondered if a ballpoint pen could pierce through Ji Guifan's neck. Just as I was worrying, I reached into my school bag and felt it. Immediately, I was overjoyed. How could I have forgotten? During my high school days, I had a serious self-destructive tendency and often carried a small knife with me. Ji Guifan, I smiled at him. Can you come over here? I'll give you the necklace. Ji Guifan was taken aback, and his sword-like eyebrows furrowed even deeper, but he still came over and said impatiently, what trick are you playing this time? I pulled out the small knife and slashed at his neck with all my might. Ji Guifan had no precautions against me. A lackey who had always followed him since childhood, submissive, cowardly, and as soft-tempered as cotton, he couldn't have imagined that I would resist. He couldn't have imagined that I would go for the big move right from the start, directly cutting his throat with a knife. Ji Guifan covered his neck, which was spurting blood, and stepped back. Ji ran. Jiang Haining supported him and screamed in horror. Are you crazy? The classmates who were watching the commotion around us were immediately scared and scattered in all directions. Ji ran. I took out the diamond necklace that was said to be worth tens of thousands of yuan from my school bag and threw it at his feet. Ji Guifan, you put this necklace in my school bag, right? Ji Guifan opened his mouth futilely, but could only make a strange hoarse sound. I really can't figure you out. I sighed and casually picked up a glass on the table and smashed it. Ignoring the cut on my palm, I held the sharp shard in my hand. Jiang Haining was so scared that she screamed. She didn't care about Ji Guifan anymore and crawled out in a panic. Ji Guifan fell to the ground and looked at me in horror. What on earth did I do to offend you that you keep torturing me one way after another? My mother saved you, not harmed you, right? I crouched down in front of Ji Guifan, forcefully stabbed the sharp end of the shard into his chest, and then smiled brightly at him. See you later, Ji Guifan. Ji Guifan's pupils dilated, and fear and despair welled up from the depths of his eyes. In an instant, he stopped breathing. So satisfying, unstoppable. Congratulations to the female lead for achieving a pentakill. You country bumpkin, I will never admit that you are my fiancé. I opened my eyes and saw Ji Fan, who was 9 years old. With an angry and flushed face, "People like you aren't even worthy of holding my shoes. What right do you have to be my fiancé? I'm telling you, don't think that just because you saved me and my parents are protecting you, you will definitely marry me in the future. I'd rather marry a pig than you." Wow, 9-year-old brother G, so cute. How could the female lead bear to do it? Yeah, and he's still so young. None of those previous harms have happened yet. He's just an adorable little boy now. Female lead, if you teach him well, he will definitely change for the better. What are you staring at me for? Ji Fan suddenly rushed over and pushed me hard. Don't you dare look at me like that. My 9-year-old body was still too small, and I was a bit unskilled. When I fell to the ground, I realized that my legs were covered in scars, and there were bandages on the serious parts. I remembered, the 9-year-old Ji Fan had a mischievous personality. He had a dispute with his father and mother because he didn't want me as his fiancé. He ran away from home at such a young age. As soon as he left the villa area, he was almost hit by a car. I rushed over and saved him, scraping my legs in the process. Ran, you have to remember that if you want to stay in this family, you have to make Fan like you. You are Fan's fiancé. You should use everything you have to accompany him and protect him. This is the responsibility of a fiancé. Fan's life was saved by your mother. That means your mother's life was exchanged for his. You don't want the person your mother risked her life to save to get hurt, do you? Ji Fan's parents brainwashed me into giving everything for Ji Fan. So even though I was extremely scared when the car came crashing towards us, I still chose to rush out and save Ji Fan. But he didn't appreciate it, just like now. He looked viciously at the injuries on my legs and raised his foot to kick me. I don't care that you saved me. Even if you hadn't saved me, that person wouldn't have dared to hit me. I'm the young master of the G family. Before his kick landed on my wound, I got up and charged at him. Coincidentally, there was a swimming pool right behind him. Ji Fan fell into the water unexpectedly and opened his mouth to scold me. Ji ran, you gurgle. Ji Fan didn't learn how to swim until he was 14 years old. He struggled in the water and called for help. His gaze gradually changed from anger to fear. But this time, no one would come to save him. I don't know how long it took. Ji Fan's body sank. He was dead. I looked at the bullet comments still scrolling in the air. Godlike. Congratulations to the female lead for achieving a hexakill. Why are there so many people ahead? A gentle female voice that I hadn't heard for a long time sounded in my ear. I opened my eyes, carefully raised my head, and looked at the person. Short, neat hair that reached the ears, a thin and determined face, gentle eyes, and eyebrows that habitually carried a hint of sadness. Mom, it was Mom. I finally saw Mom again. Ran, you wait here for Mom. There's a big brother who fell into the water over there, and Mom is going to save him. No, my heart started beating violently. I clung tightly to my mother's arm, almost wrapping myself around her with my hands and feet. No, don't go, you'll die. Mom, don't go. Don't leave me alone. We've finally managed to live a good life. Don't leave me, don't, I cried heart-wrenchingly, my heart breaking, not caring about anything else. There was only one thought in my heart and eyes, and that was to stop my mother from saving Ji Fan. The one who deserved to die was never my mother, it was Ji Fan. Ji Fan was a jinx, a bad luck charm. Whoever got involved with him would be plagued by bad luck for a lifetime. What's wrong? Ran, Mom is here. Mom is okay. Don't cry. My mother crouched down and hugged me into her arms. Ran, don't scare Mom. Mom is fine. Mom won't go then. But my tears still wouldn't stop. I had lost count of how many years it had been since I last saw my mother. Ever since she died saving Ji Fan, there had been no glimmer of light in my life. I had struggled in the darkness named Ji Fan for so many years. This was my 38th rebirth. I seemed to want to vent out all the grievances of the previous 40-something lifetimes. I actually cried myself into a faint in my mother's arms. This time, my mother didn't care about Ji Fan who had fallen into the water anymore. She picked me up and rushed to the hospital. When I woke up again, my mother was by my side, and on the TV, the news of the drowning death of the only son of the Ji family, the richest family in the area, was being broadcast. Ji Fan's parents were heartbroken by the river. Congratulations to the female lead. You have successfully achieved the feat of reversing your life. Next, please enjoy your own life to the fullest. The bullet comments disappeared. Ran. When my mother noticed that I was awake, She quickly pressed the bell to call the doctor and then approached with red and swollen eyes. "How do you feel?" I held her hand, sniffed the unique smell of my mother on her body, and felt the warmth emanating from her. My heart was more at peace than ever before. "I feel extremely good." I wrapped my arms around her neck, as if holding a treasure that I had lost and found again. "Mom, I love you so much." Story 2. My boyfriend spent his whole life creating a time machine. He used it to go back and try to save his first love. I secretly followed him back in time. There, I saw him, whom I had taught bit by bit how to love, tenderly holding his first love's hand, saying, "I didn't know how to love before, and I hurt you. Now, I've learned." The day after we returned from the past, I met Liang-su at Xia Qingxuan's birthday party. He appeared with a cake he made himself and carefully selected gifts. Under the gentle light of the flickering candles, his gaze was deep and affectionate. The atmosphere reached its peak, ambiguous and charged, as everyone gathered around waiting for Xia Qingxuan to make a wish and blow out the candles. Then, they playfully urged the couple to kiss. I stood quietly at the edge of the crowd, watching Xia Qingxuan, holding roses, coyly tiptoed to kiss Liang-su on the cheek. My roommate introduced him to me. "That's Xia Qingxuan's boyfriend. Isn't he handsome?" "Not only that, but he's also very considerate, gentle, attentive, and always maintains a respectful distance with women. Simply perfect." Silently, I watched as Liang-su gently tucked a stray hair behind Xia Qingxuan's ear, his eyes smiling. I turned away and quietly replied to my friend, "He truly is mature and reliable, good at taking care of others." After all, I had spent 5 years teaching him that, little by little. The original Liang-su wasn't like this at all. He was bad-tempered, impatient, impulsive, irritable, and arrogant. His relationship with Xia Qingxuan, which lasted less than 2 years, ended when she vented all her frustrations and fell in love with his friend. Liang-su couldn't accept that, so he spent years creating a time machine, learned how to love as I had taught him, and without hesitation, left me behind to go back to the time when he had just started dating Xia Qingxuan in their sophomore year. Even though just one more day would have marked our 5th anniversary, but he couldn't wait. Now, we are strangers who don't recognize each other. At the party, Xia Qingxuan was the center of attention, and the conversation revolved around her and Liang-su. Someone asked her how she managed to find such a perfect boyfriend. Others inquired if Liang-su had any equally handsome friends. Even jokingly, someone half-seriously said, "Ever heard the saying, one generation plants the trees, another gets the shade?" Liang-su is so considerate and attentive, surely an ex-girlfriend taught him all that. Hearing this, Liang-su didn't seem upset. He just smiled lightly and then, taking Xia Qingxuan's hand as if making a confession or a promise, said, "There is no ex. Qingxuan is my first love, and my only love." Of course, he had no ex because it was only a year after they broke up that I started dating Liang-su. I was not the past, but the future. Yet, that didn't stop him from applying everything I taught him about love to Xia Qingxuan. In the dimly lit room, the crowd buzzed. So he never saw me standing in the corner the whole time. It was only after the cake was cut, and Xia Qingxuan was introducing friends to him, that Liang-su stood before me, our eyes meeting. I can't describe the look on his face when he saw me, the smile freezing on his lips, a flicker of confusion in his eyes, but he quickly regained his composure. Then, as Xia Qingxuan introduced me saying, "This is Yu Xing, my classmate," he stared at me, lost in thought. I maintained a polite smile, watching Xia Qingxuan tug at his sleeve and frown inquiringly. "Do you know each other?" Liang-su then regained his senses and handed me a piece of cake, saying coldly and distantly, "No, we don't know each other." I sat with the cake on a single sofa, looking towards Liang-su, who had returned to the center of the crowd. Under the flickering lights, tall and with intense features, he was indeed breathtakingly handsome, especially his eyes, deep and earnest, always seemed innocent and passionate when he looked intently at someone. So, during the 5 years we were together, no matter how angry or sad I was, just seeing his face, just him quietly looking at me and softly calling, "Xing Xing," I would instantly surrender. It was easy for me to forgive him. The little cake in my hand gave off a faint scent of orange blossom. My roommate, biting on a spoon, mumbled, "Yu Xing, you must try this. It's incredibly delicious." He really put his heart into it. Now, I have to add another criterion to my boyfriend's standards. I curved my lips into a smile and took a small bite. It was a familiar taste. It was the one I taught Liang-su to make. I had spent half a month patiently helping him, guiding him step by step as he tried over and over again until he learned. He looked at me earnestly and said, Yuxing, once I've mastered this, I'll bake a cake for you with my own hands every birthday. Later, he did learn how to make it, but he never made it for me. Not even once. In fact, in the previous life's trajectory, my first encounter with Liangsu wasn't at this birthday party. I wasn't actually close to Xia Qingxuan. She had invited the whole class to her birthday party. I wasn't planning to go, but my roommate dragged me along to join the fun, so I left early after giving my gift and well wishes in the previous life. Thus, I missed Liangsu, who arrived late that night. Back in the dorm, my roommates mentioned him. Yuxing, you left early and didn't see Xia Qingxuan's boyfriend. He's extremely handsome. Too bad he seemed aloof and impatient throughout the party. Putting aside their personalities, they do match well in terms of looks. I wasn't particularly curious and generally uninterested in other people's affairs, let alone some other girl's boyfriend, so, after listening, I just smiled indifferently and didn't pursue the matter further. Nor did I ask for his name. It was only later, after I got together with Liangsu for a short time, that I accidentally saw a photo in his study and realized he was the handsome guy I had missed at the party, Xia Qingxuan's boyfriend. But I didn't mind. After all, who doesn't have a past? However, now, we have returned to the past. Unlike the previous life, this time, almost everyone was praising Liangsu. Perhaps it was the jubilant atmosphere around them that made the corner where I sat seem a bit lonely, with a mix of indescribable emotions. I unconsciously drank a few more glasses of fruit wine, slightly tipsy. I couldn't distinguish whether the crossing was real or not, so I went out to the terrace to get some fresh air for a long time. When I came back sober, the crowd had already dispersed. As I touched the half-closed door of the private room, I saw Liangsu kneeling in front of Xia Qingxuan, who had collapsed on the sofa, gently holding her hand and saying, I didn't know how to love before and hurt your heart. But now I've learned. I have to admit, Liangsu, who has a high talent for learning, can master anything he sets his mind to. 3. So, after that birthday party, I frequently heard about all the things Liangsu did for Xia Qingxuan, like bringing her a rose every time he came to see her, peeling shrimp and picking out fish bones for her at dinners, and even making handmade gifts to create little romantic moments. Oh, he would occasionally come to accompany Xia Qingxuan to class. And since coming back through time, our only interaction was at Xia Qingxuan's birthday party, and then there was today. My roommate and Xia Qingxuan, who are in the same guitar club, were going for a team-building hike, and she pleaded with me to come along to take photos. Yuxing, please, I absolutely love your composition, lighting, and color style. I'll treat you to a big meal when we get back. I agreed after her persistent coaxing. Then, carrying my camera, I arrived at the meeting point with her and saw Liangsu, who had come to accompany Xia Qingxuan. He was dressed in a black and white sports outfit, slightly bowing his head, listening intently to Xia Qingxuan. It seemed my gaze lingered on him long enough for him to notice. Before he turned his head to look over, I calmly shifted my gaze away. My roommate exaggeratedly introduced my photography skills to her companions. Yuxing, a self-taught master of photography, unmatched in lighting, top-notch composition. Amused by her, I politely addressed the smiling classmates. Amateur player, if anyone needs help, I can take pictures for you, I offered. During the trip that followed, people kept offering me small snacks in exchange for taking photos for them. It wasn't until Xia Qingxuan, pulling along Liangsu, came over with a smile and asked, Yuxing, could you take a picture of us too? I held my camera and nodded with a smile, finding a good spot to frame them. But before I could press the shutter, I heard my roommate loudly asking from the side, Liangsu, why aren't you smiling? Look here at Yuxing and smile, he said, silently. I waited for Liangsu to muster a stiff smile, and quickly snapped a few shots. Later, on the way back, we sat together on the bus looking through the photos, receiving polite and joyful compliments from everyone. Finally, we came across a few shots taken by my roommate. They were quite good, except one focused unintentionally on a passerby who walked behind me. He was a young man in a black hoodie and gray pants, his bangs hidden under a hood. Amid the laughter, someone suddenly pointed at the photo and said, there's a saying online, isn't there, you two didn't know each other, yet you were captured in the same frame. Could it be that in another universe, you really knew each other? After hearing that, the smile on my face slowly faded. He was right. In a past life, I did know this young man. His name was Chen Jingji, my first love. It's been a very long time since I last saw him, since he died on our second anniversary. It seems like my life has been forever paused at the day of his death, stuck in limbo, suspended in midair, now, as time seems to rewind. We have yet to meet. My drifting thoughts were suddenly pulled back by a sharp break, causing the camera to slip from my hands, but it was swiftly caught by Liang Su in front of me. After calming my nerves, I turned to thank him, only to find him frowning deeply at the photo. The next second, my roommate peered over, and a surprised voice unexpectedly exclaimed, "Liang Su, he looks a lot like you." I didn't know what Liang Su thought in the moment his fingers tensed, but he was indeed a stand-in. About my relationship with Liang Su, it was actually his idea, but I know better than anyone that Liang Su is not Chen Jingji, no matter how similar they appear, so initially, I was with him out of a sense of guilt and apology, simply wanting to see his face. It wasn't until I accidentally learned that his first love was Xia Qingxuan, and heard him drunkenly say, "When I learn how to love someone, I will come to you," that I realized what he meant when he said to me, "I don't know how to love. Can you teach me how to love you?" He didn't love me, it was a relationship of mutual convenience, so I began to justify using him as a stand-in. I started teaching him how to love me the way Chen Jingji did. I finally understood why in most fantasy dramas, after the protagonist's lover dies, a mere illusion can trap them, even knowing it's not their true lover, they're willing to indulge in the illusion. I also became painfully aware that this was undoubtedly drinking poison to quench thirst. But fate had it that when I was about to give up, I saw scattered documents in his study about wormholes, black holes, the speed of light, time reversal, and time travelers, and a note seemingly scribbled down, "Travelers can only travel back to their own past bodies." In that moment, my heart raced, and an incredible conjecture surfaced in my mind, being with Liang Su after. The most profound impression he left on me wasn't his inability to love, but his intelligence, an extreme form of it. Walls full of certificates and trophies, and the title of a genius in the physics department, all highlighted his smooth and brilliant path, but also gave him a bit of arrogance. He didn't know how to humble himself to love someone in a relationship, until he broke up with Xia Qingxuan. That was probably the only problem he faced that he couldn't solve, so he obsessively sought every possible method to find the answer, and then went back to conquer it. Honestly, I don't know if Liang Su's obsession was with the unattainable Xia Qingxuan, or the only failure in his life path, or if he really was, as I suspected, attempting to reverse time and travel back. I had no idea if he could actually succeed, but what if he could? So I pretended to know nothing and continued to be with him, year after year, surpassing the time he had spent with Xia Qingxuan, as well as the time I had been with Chen Jingji, until the day before our 5th anniversary. I called him. "Liang Su, let's talk when you get back." I wanted to break up. Unexpectedly, he was silent for a long time on the other end of the phone, then softly said, "Yuxing, I might not be able to spend our 5th anniversary with you. I'm sorry." Before I could respond, the call was disconnected. Holding the phone, I stood still for a few seconds before suddenly realizing what he meant. Almost without hesitation, I rushed to his now deserted laboratory. Then, we became strangers from lovers. He turned in a perfect score, becoming everyone's idea of an ideal boyfriend. I also had the opportunity to save Chen Jingji and alter his doomed fate. Just as I never cared about Liang Su's past with Xia Qingxuan, he didn't care whom I had been with either. So I think, regarding Chen Jingji being my first love, Liang Su would never know. Eventually, the camera was handed back to me. Liang Su said nothing, just silently looked out the window. I couldn't pay attention to anything else. My eyes fixed on the photo, my mind filled with Chen Jingji, suddenly realizing something. Even though I tried to maintain the development of the previous life, waiting for our first meeting on the basketball court, today's trajectory has still deviated due to one small change after another, like this photo of him, like the next day in a public class, when he sat next to me. I heard it said that music and scents are carriers of memory. Indeed, they are, because the moment Chen Jingji sat down, the familiar scent of light orange struck my heart faster than any of my reactions, bringing forth a fine, lingering pain. I sat stiffly at the desk, letting memories surge like tide, interwoven romantic scenes, vivid fragments of interactions, until the second before the car accident, when he turned the steering wheel towards me. Then he died in front of me, at the time I loved him the most. Interrupting my thoughts was the teacher's question, who called my name in the silent classroom. I stood up, half a beat slow, unable to answer a word, because I hadn't been listening. I remembered this teacher, famously in the college for picking on students who couldn't answer and having others help them. So, after half a minute of my silence, she glanced over the bowed heads and asked deliberately, "Is there any student willing to help answer?" At that moment, I hadn't fully awakened from the sad memories and actually felt it might be better if no one stood up. I could keep standing. And while looking down, I could always see Chen Jingji next to me from the corner of my eye. Without him noticing, his slender fingers rested on a black pen, casually flipping a book. Then suddenly, he stood up and said loudly, "I will." In my astonishment, as he rose, my drooping head gradually turned to a side glance, but what surprised me more was the teacher, adjusting her glasses and looking up to ask, "Is the boy in the back also helping to answer?" Chen Jingji and I turned around at the same time to see, 2 rows back, Liang Su, who had come to class with Xia Qingxuan, also standing up. For a moment, countless gazes fell on him. He didn't look at me, just calmly said, "No. I'm going to the restroom." So, it was Chen Jingji who stepped in to help me. After sitting down, as I turned to thank him, he suddenly leaned close and whispered softly, "Classmate, your eyes are so red, surely you haven't been crying. It's just a question you couldn't answer. No need to cry." When he suddenly came close, I was stunned for a moment before slowly realizing what was happening. Yet I didn't tell him that the sour redness in my eyes wasn't because I couldn't answer the question. Later, under the guise of expressing my thanks, I invited him to dinner. After class, I took him to a beef noodle shop nearby and effortlessly ordered from the lady owner 2 bowls of beef noodles, no green onions for both. Turning around, I saw Chen Jingji looking at me with a half smile. He asked, "How did you know I don't like green onions either?" I was momentarily at a loss for words, unsure how to explain when I heard him continue. "Although I don't know who you were thinking of when you placed the order, and so accidentally revealed your preference, I still should introduce myself properly." With that, he extended his right hand towards me, looking earnestly as he introduced himself. "Hello, Yu Xing. I'm a first-year graduate student in the medical department at University A." Chen Jingji. I knew he was from the neighboring University A and that he was actually substituting for a friend. This beef noodle shop, located between the 2 universities, was the place we most frequently visited in our past life together. Although it has been a long time, I still vividly remember our last visit here, which was 2 weeks after Chen Jingji left. Psychology has a term called emotional insulation defense mechanism, which prevents the brain from collapsing in the face of extreme sadness and pain. So initially, when faced with Chen Jingji's death, and the fact that I would never see him or hear his voice again, I felt numb and unemotional. Looking at the gray photo on the tombstone, I didn't shed a tear, only finding myself sleepless on quiet nights, vividly recalling every past moment. It was during an ordinary evening when I came to this noodle shop and habitually ordered 2 bowls of beef noodles without green onions. Then, as the noodles were served, and I looked at the empty seat across from me, tears unexpectedly started to fall. The emotions that had been sealed off seemed to suddenly tear open, followed by pain spreading from my heart to my entire body, and unstoppable tears. After forcing myself to finish the bowl of noodles, I ended up vomiting everything out in my overwhelming grief. Since then, I hadn't returned to this noodle shop. Fortunately, now back at the beginning, the car accident hadn't happened yet, Chen Jingji hadn't died, and everything could still be salvaged. Looking at the hand in front of me, I gently grasped it and earnestly explained, "I wasn't thinking of anyone. It's just my preference." I misspoke about the 2 bowls. He tilted his head and laughed. "That's quite a coincidence. From now on, it will always be 2 bowls then." In the end, Chen Jingji paid the bill. As I looked on in surprise, he smiled and handed his phone over. "In public, it wouldn't be gentlemanly of me to let a girl pay. How about this? Add me on WeChat, and you can transfer to me." I added him on WeChat and sent the money, but he returned it, saying, "It doesn't make sense for a girl to treat on the first meal. How about you do me a favor instead?" They had a community medical event coming up, and he asked me to help take photos. A week later, I followed him with my camera to the nearby community, capturing their medical consultations. In the photos, Chen Jingji patiently answered the residents' questions, measured blood pressure and blood sugar for the elderly, and chatted with the children. The noon sunlight fell on his white coat, coating him in a gentle glow, dazzling yet tender. if Liang Su was an unattainable flower on a high cliff, then Chen Jingji was like a grand, warm autumn sun. They were never the same. As the medical event neared its end, and everyone was chatting with the elderly and children, I saw Chen Jingji surrounded by a group of kids, helping them make bamboo joint figures. Amidst the chirping calls of Brother Jingji, he bowed his head, his fingers deftly threading and tying knots. Then handing them out one by one. This one's for you, Yuan Yuan. This one is for little Tong Tong. This one is for little Daodu. I casually snapped a few photos, and while flipping through them, I suddenly heard Chen Jingji's voice. Looking up, I saw him handing me a beautifully crafted bamboo figurine, jokingly saying, "Here, everyone who sees this gets a share. This one is for little Xingxing." Over time, through several encounters, Chen Jingji and I became friends who could arrange to have meals together. He would help me campaign for votes in the most beautiful sunset photography competition, and when we went to play with clay together, he would seriously mold various human organs. Then, when the couple across from us finally managed to shape a pair of standard hearts, he lifted the heart he had made and said, "Look, this is a perfect heart." I put down the scattered limbs in my hands, smiled awkwardly at the speechless couple across from us, and pulled Chen Jingji to another table. He would also take me to meet his fellow disciples, pointing at those who had taken off their white lab coats. He introduced each one to me. Looking at those familiar faces, I greeted them politely. I remember that the gentle and graceful senior sister, once out of her lab coat, transformed into a cool and dashing motorcyclist. And the calm and collected senior brother was actually a big shot in the esports world. As for their reaction to my arrival, and Chen Jingji's introduction of me as my friend Yuxing, they all looked at me with a smile and a knowing "oh" in their eyes. Honestly, they didn't say much, but their expressions seemed to say it all. My cheeks warmed under their gaze, and Chen Jingji stepped in front of me, pleadingly saying, "Senior brothers and sisters, please be gentle, don't scare her." They continued to smile warmly at me, chin in hand. Sure, just call us senior brother and senior sister, and we'll all be family." Later on, I became friends with them too, joining them for script murder games and attending music festivals organized by various universities. I immersed myself in this lively and stable life, almost forgetting that I had traveled back in time until I met Liang Su again. It was probably because all my attention and thoughts had been focused on Chen Jingji lately, and I automatically blocked out my roommate's gossip at the dorm. So when I saw Liang Su, I suddenly realized that it had been a long time since I last heard his name. One summer evening, while playing Truth or Dare at an outdoor barbecue stand with Chen Jingji and his seniors, I suddenly felt a strong gaze on me. Instinctively looking sideways, I caught Liang Su's eyes. He was sitting at another table with Xia Qingyu and another couple. Deliberately, Xia Qingyu held Liang Su's hand, talking nonstop, then laughed heartily at something. While the man across from her had a tight face and pursed lips, the atmosphere was harmonious, yet strangely tense. The gaze that Liang Su cast on me felt like thorns on my back, but fortunately, the displeased man across from Xia Qingyu suddenly stood up and said he wouldn't eat any more. They left. I held the goose leg that Chen Jingji handed to me, hearing Xia Qingyu leaning on Liang Su, slightly drunk, saying as they walked, "Liang Su, I like you the most." As they passed by us, my gaze lightly swept over them, noticing that Xia Qingyu's actions and words indeed showed she liked him a lot, but he did not seem happy. This puzzle was soon answered. Xia Qingyu broke up with him. A roommate in the guitar club sighed regretfully during our nightly gossip session. "Did you all know, Xia Qingyu and Liang Su broke up?" My pen stopped abruptly, and I suddenly remembered a night in a previous life when a roommate mentioned that Xia Qingyu and her boyfriend had broken up. Back then, she said Xia Qingyu complained that Liang Su didn't know how to love and couldn't stand being with him anymore, decisively breaking up, and soon officially announced a new relationship with a friend of Liang Su. Even though Liang Su had become everyone's ideal boyfriend, I didn't understand why they still broke up. The roommate's answer was that Xia Qingyu felt bored. Liang Su loved her like a robot set to a program, which was very dull. Then the roommate opened her social media to show, "Look, she's already announced her new relationship, and it's with a friend of Liang Su." I stared at the social media post, speechless, recognizing the man who had been displeased at the barbecue stand that night. Then I heard my roommate lower her voice, mysteriously adding, "The real reason is that Xia Qingyu never really liked Liang Su. She was with him only despite a childhood friend she had a crush on for a long time. She wanted to make him jealous. Yes, that childhood friend is Liang Su's friend, her current boyfriend now. So whether Liang Su could love someone or not, Xia Qingxuan didn't care at all, because they would inevitably break up in the end, and Liang Su, he thought he had found the right answer, only to realize later that the question itself was wrong. Amidst sighs, another roommate asked, did Liang Su just agree like that? Didn't he try to win her back? He seemed to really like Xia Qingxuan. No, I heard he accepted it very calmly and didn't say anything about holding on. I found this somewhat absurd. An instinctive unwillingness to accept this fact, because it made me feel like what was meant to happen would inevitably happen. This feeling reached its peak when I saw Liang Su again a week later. In a large shopping mall downtown, I found a child who had gotten lost from her family and took her to the broadcast station, waiting with her until her mother arrived. A very beautiful and dignified woman dressed in an expensive-looking dark blue cheongsam came over, took the child's hand, and thanked me, inviting me for tea at the tea house downstairs. Despite my repeated refusals, she insisted, citing it would ease her conscience, and led me past a wooden carved screen where I saw Liang Su, dressed in a light gray sweater, pinching a celadon cup at a square table. Memories from a distant past were instantly awakened, although the timing was wrong. In my previous life, my first encounter with Liang Su was because I found this child, but back then, the person who came to the broadcast station to pick up the child was Liang Su. It was his cousin's daughter, who was visiting from abroad. Liang Su's parents were both scientists and were rarely around, so he had grown up mostly alone, indifferent to familial ties. During the 5 years we were together, I hardly ever saw his relatives. Thus, this cousin and her little niece, whom I had only met once, faded from my memory over time, but I hadn't expected that, starting over, a similar situation would occur again, albeit slightly differently. The girl's mother mentioned that she was supposed to meet her cousin here, then explained to Liang Su, this lady helped find her. Her name is Yu Xing. After she spoke, Liang Su put down his teacup, looked over, and said slowly, yeah, I know her. I couldn't describe how I felt at that moment, upon learning that Liang Su and I were alumni. The girl's mother exclaimed in surprise, that really is fate. Then, curiously looking between me and stopped feeding that orange cat. After a while, Liang Su stood in the corridor I had to pass through in the library, looking puzzled as he asked me, Yu Xing, are you avoiding me? Yes, I indeed was avoiding him. After all, starting over, there was no relationship between me and him anymore. I addressed him calmly, asking, then in what capacity are you standing here questioning me? As an ex-boyfriend of a classmate. He looked down at me for a long while, his face turning a shade paler, before finally stepping aside to let me pass. I thought to myself, someone as proud as him probably won't come looking for me again. Yet, his breakup, our encounter, and various incidents similar to those in a past life that happened sooner or later, still instilled a deep unease in me. I began to frequently dream about the car accident from my past life. In the dream, I returned to the day of our second anniversary. Chen Jingji was driving me to dinner, holding flowers. I sat in the passenger seat, chatting about a travel show I'd recently watched and discussing future travel plans. He listened quietly to my chatter, occasionally looking at me with gentle eyes and responding, okay, as you wish. For some reason, I felt something was off with him but couldn't pinpoint what it was, so I just let it go and kept talking. As I spoke about how we should celebrate our future anniversaries, a truck suddenly ran a red light and barreled across the road. Actually, the road wasn't very busy at that time, and there weren't many people around. A timely brake could have prevented the accident, but the brakes failed. Without hesitation, Chen Jingji steered the wheel towards my side, leaving me the only chance of survival. After the violent impact, I lost consciousness for a few seconds. When I opened my eyes, I was in the bloody, stench-filled car, in too much pain to utter a word. Through my blurry vision, I saw a long shard of glass piercing Chen Jingji's chest, as he weakly pleaded with the bystanders gathering around, save her first, please, save her. I was then rescued through the shattered car window, and the last scene I saw before passing out was the car exploding. The investigation results were quickly disclosed. Besides the fatigue-driven truck driver who ran the red light, Chen Jingji's car's brake system had been tampered with. The criminal was a man overwhelmed by millions in debts from online loans, who, unable to repay, decided to lash out at society by sabotaging the brake systems of almost all the cars in that area. Thus, there was a high rate of accidents and casualties during that period. Lying on the hospital bed, I numbly watched the news on my phone, quietly listening to the comforting words of Chen Jingxi's senior colleagues when they visited me. It was only when they mentioned that Chen Jingxi had planned to propose to me that day that I understood why he had seemed off. The ring was found on his body, it was beautiful, and I liked it very much. During that time, everyone urged me to move forward, but I didn't understand. If I moved on, what would happen to the Chen Jingxi who remained here? I was awoken by the urgent ringing of an alarm. Opening my eyes and staring blankly at the ceiling, I realized I had been crying. Every detail of that car accident was etched deeply into my bones, including the criminal who tampered with the brakes. But now, I couldn't do anything. Before the sabotage, he was just a man burdened with debt, and I dared not confront him prematurely to avoid other consequences. I could only minimize changes and wait for the day he committed the crime. During this waiting period, Chen Jingxi and I got together. Before that, I had faintly noticed signs that he was about to confess his feelings. It started when a senior from the photography club asked me to pretend to be his girlfriend to fend off a girl who kept pestering him. In the quiet, elegant restaurant, the senior wrapped his arm around me and told the girl across the table, "I really do have a girlfriend now. See, her name is Yu Sheng." I wasn't very good at acting, fearful of giving us away. I just maintained a smile and nodded in agreement. The next second, inadvertently, I saw Chen Jingxi with his friends at another table behind a frosted glass partition. He must have watched the entire scene. When our eyes met, he quickly looked down. He didn't respond to his friends' questions, just quietly eating his rice. That evening, I saw a post on his social media, a picture of a heart model cracked in half with the caption, "Heartbroken." The next day, I went to see him with his favorite green plum cake. In the corridor bathed in the sunset, he stood in front of me, looking disheartened, a shadow of his usual bright self. Watching him silently take a bite of the cake, I asked him, "Is it sweet?" "Not sweet, it's bitter." I nodded in understanding, murmured a no, and then changed the subject to mention a new roast duck restaurant nearby, suggesting we could go try it out together. He silently stared at the ground for a while, his voice low. "Would your boyfriend mind us going out to eat together?" I feigned surprise. "Ah. Are you talking about the senior from yesterday? I was just helping to ward off some unwanted attention. How was it? Was my acting good enough to fool even you?" After a pause, seeing the light returning to his eyes, I continued, "But even if I had a boyfriend, he wouldn't mind just having a meal with a friend." "Do you mind having a boyfriend?" he suddenly interrupted, looking at me nervously, with a light smile. I casually replied, "That depends on how sweet the green plum cake is." I queued for 2 hours just to buy it. He paused for a second, then stuffed the remaining half of the cake into his mouth and mumbled unclearly, "Sweet, it's incredibly sweet." That night, he posted another social media update, a photo of my silhouette with the caption, "My life to come." That's how Chen Jingxi and I started dating. There were no dramatic romantic confessions like in novels or TV dramas, just two hearts holding each other. Afterwards, like any other campus couple, we spent a very ordinary but happy time together until the day marked on my calendar, just before, outside an old neighborhood at 3 in the morning, the time of the crime, a sabotaged brake system. But that day was no longer our second anniversary, and his car, due to various changes, wasn't parked there. What I saved was everyone else. At first, I was very nervous, worried about potential accidents, but reality turned out to be surprisingly smooth. Not wanting to get involved in a criminal case and face questioning, I reported to the police that I had lost a necklace worth 20,000 yuan in that area, last seen at 3:30 a.m. The police quickly checked the surveillance and then saw a suspicious man repeatedly near several cars, holding tools. The investigation and verification followed logically, and I was no longer involved. As for the necklace, I told the police the next day that I found it in a trash can. I also heard that many cars had their brakes sabotaged that night. The criminal was caught. The long-held worry probably ended there, but I still felt uneasy inside. This unease lasted until 2 weeks later, when Chen Jingxi and I went to the cinema. Walking slowly through the crowd, a man with a scar on his right face brushed past me. A knife hidden in his sleeve caught my eye as he walked towards a pregnant woman. In a flash, my actions were almost faster than my thoughts, and by the time I realized it, I had already taken the knife for the pregnant woman. Lying on the ground, I finally understood what I had forgotten. The scar-faced man was a fugitive, who in a previous life had died in a car accident caused by brake failure. But this time, the accident was prevented. He survived. Chaos erupted around us. Chen Jingji knelt beside me as if saying something, his veins bulging with effort. But I couldn't hear anything anymore. It felt like I had walked through a dense fog for a very long time, eventually reaching the park next to my neighborhood when I was 10 years old. Back then, I was often sick and took hormone-containing medicine, which made me very fat, so other kids would circle around me, teasing, "Big fat pig, freak, fat pig, freak." I covered my ears, desperately trying to explain to them, "I'm not a fat pig. I'm just sick. I'll get better. I'm not a fat pig." No one listened to my explanation. They just watched me squatting on the ground, laughing even louder, until a boy, like a deity descending, coldly warned them that anyone who dared to speak another word would be hung from a tree to let the birds relieve themselves on him. After they ran off screaming, the boy crouched down in front of me, who dared not look up, and comforted me in a gentle voice. "Don't be afraid, I've driven them all away." I slowly raised my head to look at his handsome face and whispered, "Brother, I'm not a fat pig, I'm just sick." He smiled at me tenderly. "Yes, I know, you're just sick. You'll get better." From that day on, whenever I went to the park, I would see him jogging. No one else wanted to play with me, only he would, but he was so handsome that it made me feel inferior and sad. I couldn't help but ask him, "Brother, what if I never get better?" He ruffled my hair and hummed thoughtfully before saying, "Then I'll become a doctor and cure you." From our first meeting to the day he left, it was only 11 days. That was the last thing he said to me before I heard his mother calling him not far away. "Jingji, Chen Jingji, come home for dinner." The next day, my father's affair was discovered, and my mother and I moved away. I never saw Chen Jingji again. When we met again, he had become a medical student, standing out in the crowd, as handsome as ever, and my illness had also healed. Later, we accidentally reunited at a basketball court, got to know each other, and became a couple. The person I had a crush on for nearly 10 years also fell for me. Later, before I could even ask if he remembered me, he died. Fortunately, this time, I saved him. If that was the price to pay, I was willing to bear it. I returned to the dense fog that wouldn't lift, vaguely feeling someone talking beside me, yet unable to react. Faintly, I seemed to hear Chen Jingji's voice, sounding helpless and hoarse as he asked someone next to him, "I've studied medicine for so long, why couldn't I save her? Teacher, what should I do?" When I regained consciousness again, the hospital room had become very quiet. Someone was sitting by the bed, using all my strength. I barely managed to lift my eyelids halfway, only able to vaguely see his face, resembling Chen Jingji, and also like Liang Su. I tried hard to distinguish for a long time, to no avail, until he spoke. "If I hadn't traveled back in time, would it not have triggered the butterfly effect that caused your injury, or did you also come back? And that's why you saved that pregnant woman?" After a pause, he laughed at himself. "I've never known, in another time and space, whether you liked me because of him, or was it because of my time traveling that indirectly made you fall for him in this timeline? I guess I'll never know the answer to that question, but, Yusung, I regret it." For a long time, I thought all difficult problems could be solved through studying logical reasoning. It turns out, loving someone isn't one of them. It's unsolvable. Just like how I seemingly can't make you, who fell in love with him, fall in love with me again. I don't really like to reminisce about the 5 years I spent with Liang Su, but a trivial incident inexplicably pops into my mind. It was probably the third winter we were together. I was talking to him on the phone on my way home from work when I accidentally bumped into someone. After a yelp, my phone fell precisely through the cracks of a drain cover into the sewer below. Feeling extremely frustrated, I spent the entire night in a taxi using the little cash I had on me. I found out the next day that Liang Su had been looking for me all night. I don't know why he did that, but I knew that a relationship started with impure intentions would never end well. Talking about it now is pointless. I woke up on a very ordinary evening. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw Chen Jingji patiently wiping my fingers one by one as he bent his head. I turned my head slightly and called out softly, "Chen Jingji." His movements abruptly stopped. Without looking up, his knuckles whitened as he gripped the towel tightly. Then after a moment of silence, he got up and strode out. I watched the white ceiling and silently counted inside my head. By the 57th count, he walked back in. The corners of his eyes were red. After a thorough checkup, I was cleared to leave the hospital. On the day of my discharge, Chen Jingji took me to his place and began to take care of me cautiously, revolving his days around me. Feeling somewhat apologetic, I said to him, "I'm sorry for troubling you so much. we've only just started being together." He seemed amused and pinched my face, placing a bowl of soup in front of me, feigning annoyance. "Then drink up quickly and get the weight you lost back." I frowned and shook my head, but I finally managed to lose some weight. "Guess it saves me the trouble of dieting." Completely losing his composure, he spooned up some soup and brought it to my lips, coaxing softly, "Come on, little Yusong, open your mouth, listen to Dr. Brother. A healthy person is the most beautiful." That's how I recovered from my injuries, with Chen Jingji's mix of anger and coaxing. I saw Liang Su again half a year later in a supermarket. As I was looking for Chen Jingji while holding a few oranges, one accidentally rolled away. It kept rolling until someone bent down and picked it up. It was Liang Su. He stepped forward, placing the orange back in my arms. During our silent gaze, I sincerely thanked him. "Liang Su, thank you." Just then, Chen Jingji's voice called out as he was looking for me, "Yusong." I quickly responded, "Coming," and brushed past Liang Su, who was about to speak. Just like in this vast universe, we may have brief encounters, but ultimately, we drift apart. That night, while organizing the study, I saw a cartoon drawing in a photo frame inside the glass cabinet. It depicted a chubby little girl with a bubble above her head that read "Brother." I took the photo to ask Chen Jingji when he recognized me. He smiled, his eyebrows slightly raised, and casually flipped the frame over. I was stunned. It was a photo of him, but the focus was on me passing by behind him. The date recorded was the day we went hiking. So, the next day, he sat down beside me. From then on, our story took a new beginning.